A woman with cancer discovers her husband's adultery with her best friend, and they talked about how to get her killed. Even when Ji-won caught them red-handed, they didn't panic. They taunted her about what a patient could do. Ji-won was so angry that she tore the bitch to pieces. She didn't realize that her husband pushed her into the corner of the coffee table. The glass tabletop shattered. Ji-won was about to die, leaving tears of remorse. Suddenly, she opened her eyes again. She saw her scummy husband in front of her eyes, and he's looking at her like he cares about her. Ji-won was so angry that she grabbed something and threw it at him. She dragged him by his hair in front of everyone. He was about to fight back, but Minister Leo separated them in time. He reminded Ji-won that this is a company. Then she saw the familiar and unfamiliar faces. She realized that the pinhole in her hand was gone. She ran to the mirror to check. Her face looks healthy. There was no sign of terminal cancer. She was so scared that she backed away, but she tripped and fell backward. She saw the kettle on the table fall on her face. At the critical moment, Minister Leo knocked the kettle away, asked her if she was hurt. Then the bitch and the scumbag came over. Ji-won remembered how they were working together. She rushed out like a madwoman. When she came to the street, she was confused. The skyscrapers slowly disappeared. She saw an advertisement for a car that went on sale in 2013, and posters of pop stars from that time. She had traveled back 10 years. Minister Leo sent Ji-won home to rest. Looking at the familiar house in front of her, he opened the refrigerator and saw that the food was from 2013. Then the doorbell rang. It's Minister Leo bringing her some food. Ji-won started with a bucket of instant noodles. As far as I remember, Minister Leo will take over the company in 2021. No one knew he was the grandson of the chairman. Suddenly, a banknote caught Ji-won's attention. It turns out that in 2023, Ji-won is being billed by the hospital. She contacted her husband, but there was no answer, so she took a cab home to get the money. The driver took her into a tunnel she'd never seen before. When she came out, she found a sea of flowers. It calmed her down. When she got out of the car, the driver gave her a new banknote. He wished her recovery and a new life. The driver urged Ji-won to accept it. She didn't realize that the bill had traveled back with her. Ji-won remembered that her father had drawn a heart on the bill before he died. Then she realized that the driver was her father. He was the one who brought her back to life 10 years ago. Ji-won was in a state of nostalgia. The door to her room was suddenly opened. It was her husband, who was a scumbag in her past life. They went to a restaurant. He asked her if she was pregnant. Ji-won remembers that she had stomach cramps from stress. Before she could explain, he asked her to abort the pregnancy. He said he'd pay for half of the operation. Ji-won laughed at him. She thought she was blind back then. She thought she'd found someone to rely on, and she met an understanding mother-in-law. But after marriage, she was exposed. She was scolded by her mother-in-law for not getting pregnant, but her husband just stood by and watched. Then he quit his job and stayed at home to be a softie. He used all her savings to speculate in the stock market. Even if he played games, he didn't share the housework. He didn't care if his wife was tired after work. Finally, Ji-won developed terminal stomach cancer. She has only 6 months to live, but her mother-in-law said that her son had a hard life. She said her son was too unfortunate to marry her. Ji-won made up her mind. She said it was just gastritis. The corners of her mouth turned up when she heard that. He was so relieved. Then Ji-won offered her hand and got up to leave, but he came out and said he didn't agree. Thinking about the image of him beating himself up in the future, Ji-won wouldn't give in this time. They ended up at the police station, but the officer dismissed the case because of a couple's quarrel. They said that he was an elitist from a big company, so he wouldn't hit him. Ji-won was speechless. She had to let the police escort her home. She was ready to move out of the house to get away from the scum, but she realized she only had $700,000 left. Then she remembered that he took all her savings to speculate in the stock market. At that moment, she received a text message from him apologizing. He said he'd marry her if she made a profit. Suddenly, Ji-won had a flash of insight. She remembers that he bought an energy stock and made a lot of money, so Ji-won immediately opened a stock account. She'll use the company's future stock to make a comeback. The next morning, she went to the hospital for a checkup. She was in perfect health. Then she went to the bookstore to buy some books on stocks, but she ran into the minister, Ji-hyuk. She found out that the injury on his hand was caused by saving her, so she invited him to lunch to apologize. When Ji-hyuk took off his glasses and unlocked his face, Ji-won was mesmerized. When she saw the scar on his arm, she scratched it. It looked exactly like her own scar from her past life. Realizing that she was being a bit rude, she let go of her hand. At night, she wrote down what would happen in the future. The next day, I went back to the office. She bought all the money in that energy stock. Then her best friend came over to see her. She asked Ji-won why she didn't see her on the weekend. Ji-won said she went to the hospital yesterday. The bitch tried to comfort Ji-won by pretending to sympathize with her. Then the supervisor called her. Ji-won handed over her proposal, but the manager just looked at it and said it was crap. But Ji-won remembers that in her past life, her proposal was rejected. The bitch submitted her proposal without changing it, but she got a promotion from the manager. Ji-won came to the pantry and ran into Kim. In her previous life, she was overpowered by a loser supervisor. She had to leave her job. Suddenly, she puts down her coffee and rushes to a meeting. Ji-won remembers that in her previous life, she tripped over a suitcase and hurt her knee trying to stop a cup from falling. This time, She learned her lesson. She jumped over the box and managed to save the cup. That means she can change her past. But before he could be happy, on her way out the door, she ran into a scumbag. She was knocked down by a wheelbarrow trying to avoid him. The wound was still on her knee. What's done is done. Is it possible that I can't escape death after all? When she returned to her seat, she received a message from him. He said he sold his energy stocks to pay her back. Instead, he's buying a tech stock with more potential. Ji-won remembers that the tech company eventually ran out of money. The stockholders lost their money. Thinking about Ji-hyuk's burn scars on his hands, she bought a stock that made money, which led to the sale of the scumbag. She realizes that things will happen eventually, as long as there's someone to take the blame. That's when her best friend came to her. Ji-won thought of a way. She told her to take the blame for the tragedy that was going to happen to her, since they loved each other so much in their previous life. In this life, let's make them happy. Go back in time 10 years. The bitch pretended to knock herself over by accident. She even poured food on her face. In this life, she wouldn't let her best friend get away with it. She dodged her way out of the way, and then stretched out a foot. The bitch directly pounced on the scummy man's body. Seeing the two of them in a state of distress, Ji-won's heart is full of joy. She pretended to be concerned about her boyfriend. She said she'd go to the bathroom and get him some paper towels. In fact, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to stop herself from laughing. Suddenly, there was a cry for help from the restroom. She realized that he had forgotten his tampon. Ji-won quickly helped. She saw the blood on her pants. She even gave her jacket to cover her up. Hee-yeon was touched and said she'd repay her for saving her life. Ji-won thought she was exaggerating. She said other people would have helped her, but Hee-yeon said that someone had just saved her life. Ji-won remembered that the bitch had just come out of the restroom. Then they went out to eat together. Ji-won thought that the scum must be furious. He begged for a year to buy him that shirt. The bitch said she'd buy him a new one, but he told her not to worry about it. Hee-yeon said it was a $1.5 million brand name item, but the bitch immediately played the poor girl. She said she's a temporary worker and doesn't have much money. Ji-won was disgusted to see the two of them flirting. Hee-yeon got up to get her a glass of water. The bitch asked her to pour her a glass of water, but Hee-yeon refused. Then she left. She was so embarrassed that she couldn't say anything. Ji-won didn't have the stomach to eat either. She told them to enjoy it, and went to find Hee-yeon. In fact, it's a chance for them to be alone. When the elevator doors opened, he was pushed into the corner of the elevator by the crowd. The scummy guy tried his best to restrain himself, but the bitch reached out and pressed a finger, so that the scumbag shivered all over, then looked at him with affection. At this time another wave of people crowded into the elevator. The two of them were close to each other. He enjoys the intimacy. On the other hand, Ji-won invited Kim to work with him, to show her her project proposal. Kim thought it was a good idea. She couldn't understand why the director rejected it. Ji-won said that the director didn't even look at it, he just pretended to read it. In fact, he's been gagging the whole time. He did the same thing with Kim's good ideas, but she didn't believe her. Ji-won made a bet with her. She said she'd submit the proposal as it is. She'll see how the manager reacts and then decide. So Ji-won changed the color of the proposal. The director flipped through the pages. He didn't find it to be the same as the last proposal. He said it was even worse than the last one. Ji-won laughed. She explained that it was the same as the last proposal. She just picked it up by mistake. Then he went back to his desk and handed in another proposal. Now all the co-workers know he's fishing in troubled waters. The team of 3 has reached a tentative alliance, but it made the bitch jealous, so she went to Ji-won's desk and peeked at the proposal. She had an evil idea. Then she went to the men's room and met the supervisor on purpose. She invited him to dinner tonight. He said he had a secret he wanted to tell him. He accepted. The physical contact made him happy. Then he met Ji-won in the elevator. He talked about the coffee in Ji-won's hand. The supervisor caught her in the act. He said she was out fishing during work hours. Ji-won explained that she bought it on her way back from the field, but the supervisor wouldn't let her off the hook. Suddenly, Ji-hyuk punched the elevator wall. The supervisor didn't dare to say anything. When the elevator opens, Ji-hyuk called Ji-won to the rooftop. He told her to drink the coffee first. He was worried that Ji-won would be too embarrassed to drink it back at the office. Ji-won was touched by his thoughtfulness. Ji-hyuk asked her if she was free this weekend, but then the bitch came out. She said they had a date to eat at a famous barbecue restaurant. Ji-hyuk looked serious when he heard about the restaurant. Then he went back to his office to get Ji-won's information. He called the restaurant. He found out that the restaurant was booked for a reunion. After work, the bitch came to the restaurant with her supervisor. She tried to convince him to help her with Ji-won's proposal, and the supervisor is already obsessed with the bitch. He's even thinking of the name of their future child. On the other hand, Ji-won, who was working late, saw a gift on her desk. It's a pair of earrings given to her by the bitch. She told her to wear them on her weekend date. Ji-won knew she was up to no good. In her last life, she went to a class reunion. She was humiliated by her casual attire, and the bitch kept her from leaving. Ji-won had to hide in the restroom. Her classmates made fun of her for wearing fake earrings. She was caught eavesdropping in the restroom. She was humiliated by her classmates. The thought of it was terrifying. She wouldn't go to the appointment even if she had to. When she came out, she ran into Ji-hyuk. He warned Ji-won that the earrings were fake. Ji-hyuk warned her in her last life, but Ji-won didn't know the true nature of the bitch, and she scolded Ji-hyuk. This time, she thanked him. Suddenly, she got a message from the scumbag. He said he's coming to Ji-won's house. The bitch also sent a message saying she's going to her house. Ji-won thought of a way to get them to hook up, so she went to the convenience store and bought a bottle of liquor. She texted the bitch to come over, but she didn't bring an emoticon. The bitch was not happy about it. She decided not to go. By now, he's already at Ji-won's house, taking a shower. He was going to spend the night with her. When Ji-won got home, she found the guy's clothes. When Ji-won came home and found his clothes, she secretly put down the wine. She got a text message from the bitch saying she's not coming. Ji-won tried to escape, but it was too late. He was staring at her with affection. He threw the towel away. Ji-won screamed in fear, but then the doorbell rang. Ji-won rushed to open the door. It's a fried chicken delivery. Ji-won didn't say she didn't order it, and the dressed man said it wasn't him, but the delivery man insisted on confirming the address. He got impatient and kicked him out. Ji-won pushed him and locked the door to keep her out. She texted him that she wasn't ready. She was about to leave. Ji-won threw his shoes out. He thinks that his girlfriend still loves him. He couldn't bear to go back barefoot. Unbeknownst to him, the delivery guy was waiting downstairs. Ji-hyuk had arranged it. Ji-won was still thinking about going to the reunion the day after tomorrow. Then she received a text message from her coworker. She asked her to go shopping with her tomorrow. The next morning, Ji-won checked her stock account. She realized that her capital had doubled in just 1 week. She thought she'd invest it all after her paycheck. When she passed by a luxury store, she found the same store where the bitch gave her earrings. The difference was huge. No wonder her classmates recognized her. She used to buy the same thing for her, but she didn't care if it suited Ji-won or not. It made her look like a clown, and the bitch even pretended to compliment her on her beauty. It's obviously a couple's date between her and the scumbag, but she's acting like a maid. She followed her with a bunch of stuff. Then Hee-yeon came to see her. She found out that the earrings the bitch gave her were fakes. She said there are different grades of fakes, and these earrings are obviously the worst. That means the bitch was trying to humiliate her. Then she showed her the real ones. They went to a restaurant for dinner. Ji-won has a reunion tomorrow. Hee-yeon offered her a chance to return the favor. Then they took Ji-won to a high-end stylist. They're going to give her a makeover. After the stylist gave her a makeover, Ji-won was transformed into an elegant lady. Then she tried on different styles of clothes. Hee-yeon couldn't help but praise her. This time, she's going to dazzle everyone. The guy who was left out had to go camping with his friends. Ji-won didn't answer his phone calls. Whenever he hears that the girl next door needs help, he ran over to her and offered to help her. He even pulled her into his arms and hugged her. He's the worst of the worst. The bitch called Ji-won. She found out that she's been playing with Hee-yeon all day. She got a little upset. Then she asked Ji-won for the project. This time, Ji-won refused. She said she's already working with Kim. And then she made a clean break with the bitch. She hung up the phone. The bitch was furious, but she texted Ji-won to remind her to come tomorrow. She wanted to make Ji-won look bad tomorrow, but the result was a shock to the bitch. She looked so beautiful. Even the bitch was dumbfounded when she saw it. The boys were surprised at how beautiful Ji-won had become. The female classmates were very upset. She said she had to wear earrings like the bitch, but the classmates said that Ji-won's is much better. While the bitch looked a little rough, they told her to support the real thing. She was so angry that she couldn't say anything back. Ji-won was so happy to see her suffer. Luckily, Hee-yeon lent her the real earrings. She thought, this is a true friend. Then Ji-won said she had to go to the restroom. She's too much of a bitch to wear fake earrings. Ji-won went to the familiar restroom. It seems like yesterday when her classmates humiliated her. Soon after, a few female students came in. They were talking about how the bitch was still hanging out with Ji-won. They said that the bitch was too nice and she took everything. Ji-won was furious when she heard that. She came out to confront them before they kicked in the door. Her face was so gloomy that she scared her classmates. Then they accused Ji-won. Ji-won couldn't take it anymore. She scolded them for not checking him out. Then she pulled out her business card. She said she's been there for 7 years, and the bitch is just a trainee with less than 3 years of experience, and she was recommended by him. The students looked incredulous. Then Ji-won told them that he was her boyfriend. She called him and put him on speakerphone. Tell him to say hello to his classmates. Now they were all speechless. But the girl chased after her. She asked Ji-won why she stole her boyfriend, Yoon-ho. Ji-won didn't know how to explain. Then a voice came from behind her. It was Yoon-ho. He said clearly that he didn't go out with her. Now, the bitch was slapped in the face. It turns out Ji-hyuk found Yoon-ho. He wanted him to attend the reunion, so he could clear up the misunderstanding. But Yoon-ho wondered what the misunderstanding was. Ji-hyuk said it was a favor for Ji-won. Everyone was surprised by Yoon-ho's answer. They're checking with him again, but Yoon-ho ignored them. Instead, he asked Ji-won if she ever liked him. Ji-won turns around and runs away. Ji-hyuk was waiting at the hotel entrance. When he saw Ji-won, he was jealous. Yoon-ho came after him and grabbed Ji-won. He has the courage to confess his love to Ji-won. Ji-hyuk saw it from afar. He thought he had another rival, so Ji-hyuk was born again to save Ji-won. In his past life, he loved Ji-won in high school. Then he worked at the same company. He wanted to confess his love, but he found out that Ji-won already had a boyfriend. He had to watch her get married to a scumbag. But Ji-won wasn't happy. Not only was her mother-in-law mean to her, and her husband was a softie. Unfortunately, she contracted cancer soon after, and her best friend was no good either. On the surface, she was like a sister to her, but behind her back, she slept with her husband. She was beaten to death by her husband. Ji-hyuk looked at Ji-won's picture with sadness. He didn't realize the murderer was Ji-won's husband. The guests realized that the two had been having an affair. They felt guilty for humiliating Ji-won at the reunion 10 years ago. Then Yoon-ho came to the funeral. He said that he didn't date the bitch. Ji-hyuk regrets everything he heard. He shouldn't have let Ji-won marry that scum. But it was too late. On the way back, he was trying to avoid a kitten. Ji-hyuk had a traffic accident. Ji-won was reborn 10 years ago. Ji-hyuk was reborn with her, and there was a heart on his chest. The same pattern as Ji-won's banknote. This time, he decided not to give up. With the memories of his past life, he watched over Ji-won. When Ji-won was about to be hit by a kettle, Ji-hyuk would stand up for her. Every time Ji-won was about to get hurt, he'd show up just in time. He knew in advance when Ji-won would get hurt. He couldn't help but sneak a peek at her. He knew she had stomach cancer in her past life. He would always tell her to remember to eat breakfast. When he found out that she was going to the reunion, Ji-hyuk didn't stop her from going to the reunion. He encouraged her to be brave. But Ji-won looked puzzled. Ji-hyuk went to her high school friend, Yoon-ho. He asked him to clear up Ji-won's misunderstanding. He reminded Ji-won that the earring she was wearing was a fake. He told her not to wear them to the appointment. She wanted to go to Ji-won's appointment on Saturday to change her look, but the bitch beat her to the punch and said they had an appointment. He had to make a mysterious phone call to get help. He knew in advance that the scumbag would play tricks on Ji-won, so he asked his friend to pretend to be a delivery boy. When faced with his grandfather's request for marriage, Ji-hyuk refused outright, even if he was threatened with the position of successor. Ji-hyuk didn't hesitate to stand his ground. The chairman of the Zaibatsu had a headache. He told his men to find out who he was. On the night of the reunion, Ji-hyuk was waiting at the door. He was dumbfounded by Ji-won's new look. He didn't expect to see Yoon-ho confessing his love, and the bitch blamed her classmates for ruining it. Then she went to the bathroom in anger. She blamed Ji-won for everything. If it wasn't for her, she wouldn't have been humiliated like this. With a trembling hand, she dialed Ji-won's number, but he hung up on her. The bitch decided to go out and cry and apologize, so that her classmates would forgive her. But when she returned to the private room, there was no one there. It seems that no one wants to talk to her anymore. She came looking for Ji-won with an aggrieved look on her face, but she ran into a scummy guy, so she went into her house. But she realized that Ji-won had changed the password. Seeing the bitch's pitiful face, he was so protective of her. He immediately took off his jacket and put it on her. They went to a restaurant to get drunk. The accidental touch of their chopsticks. They felt an electric sensation when their chopsticks touched. Ji-won didn't know what to do when she was confessed to. Luckily, Ji-hyuk called in time to meet her for business. Yoon-ho had to get Ji-won's contact number first. Then she went to the hotel to meet Ji-hyuk. She found out that it was a launch party for a short video platform. Ji-won knew it would be a national hit. When everything was set up for the launch, Ji-hyuk drove her home. It's the first time they've talked so much, but they were interrupted by a call from a bitch. Ji-won hung up on her. Ji-hyuk asked her if seeing her first love triggered her heart. Ji-won said she had a boyfriend now. The atmosphere got a little awkward. When she got home, she suddenly saw the scum. Ji-won immediately hid. Ji-hyuk realized what was going on. He drove the car to the river to enjoy the breeze. Then Ji-won explained her relationship with him, but she didn't want to explain because it was her private life. Ji-hyuk nodded in agreement. He said he was comfortable. When he arrived at the house, Ji-hyuk wanted to express his love, but he didn't know how to say it. He only expressed his concern for Ji-won. Just as Ji-won was about to go to sleep, she received a text message from the bitch apologizing. Then the scummy guy sent her a text message to plead for her. Thinking of their past lives, Ji-won prayed that they'd get married soon. Then she got a call from Yoon-ho. They talked about old times. They found out that Yoon-ho wrote the letter first, but Ji-won rejected him in return. But she wrote a love letter, so she asked Yoon-ho to bring the letter and meet her tomorrow. She wanted to find out what happened back then. The next day, Ji-won came back to the office with a new look. Her co-workers looked at her in disbelief. The scumbag ran over to him. He couldn't believe it was his girlfriend. He tried to hug her but Ji-won dodged him. He doesn't dare to be rude in the office. Ji-hyuk took off his glasses and went to work. His attention was drawn to Ji-won's smile. He almost fell down. Then he said to Ji-won, "It's the first time I've seen you without glasses." I didn't realize it. He realized that he was in trouble. So, during his lunch break, he approached Ji-won. He asked what was going on between them. Ji-won said she'd take care of some business for him. He called Ji-hyuk an asshole. He thinks he's trying to get to Ji-won. Ji-won felt a little happy when she heard that. He said he didn't mean it. Then he said Ji-won had something dirty on her head. He was trying to take advantage of her. Ji-won pushed back the coffee. He had to go to the bathroom to clean it up, and the bitch found Ji-won. She explained that she didn't know why her classmates said that yesterday. She said she had nothing to do with it. In her previous life, Ji-won might have believed her. but now she knows the true nature of the bitch. Ji-won said she wouldn't let it go, because she's meeting Yoon-ho to find out. At that, the whore started to panic. Wouldn't the scumbag get mad at her for saying she's seeing her crush? Ji-won said that he's not worried about her. He's recently made a lot of money from his stock market. He's already started planning their wedding house. When she heard that, she became jealous. Why do all the men revolve around Ji-won? At the end of the day, everyone got into the elevator. When Ji-hyuk arrived, he saw so many people. He was about to wait for the next elevator. When he saw Ji-won in the corner, he immediately blocked the door and forced his way in. Her co-workers were praising her for her beauty. They envied her and her boyfriend. When Ji-hyuk heard that, he had mixed feelings. When he came out, he waited on purpose. He called out to Ji-won at the end of the line. He asked her if she changed her outfit for her boyfriend. Ji-won said she wanted to live for herself. Ji-hyuk was pleased with her answer. Ji-won also said he'd changed a lot, but his clothes were a little old-fashioned. Ji-hyuk thought he needed to change. On the other hand, Ji-won went home after visiting a client. While waiting for the bus, she saw Hee-yeon holding a bag and cheering. She was about to say hello, but Ji-hyuk came out with a big bag. Hee-yeon was taken by force. Seeing the two of them being close to each other, Ji-won froze. She felt a bit sad. When she got home, she remembered that in her last life, her supervisor had exposed their secret love affair. Hee-yeon was transferred out of her job. Ji-won thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend, but she didn't realize that Hee-yeon was Ji-hyuk's sister. She hid her identity to experience life at the company.